Welcome back to the Dot Life podcast, Dorchester's podcast source of local news, content, and analysis. We're joined, as usual, by Bill Forry from the Dorchester Reporter. And Bill, you're not wearing Celtics green today. What's going on?
Nope. I'm putting it in the rear view, Erin, like a lot of us. We're, white-knuckling this thing this week. It was a tough loss.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I got a closet full of other team colors. I happen to be wearing Boston College maroon and gold today.
Of course.
Reigning national champion women's lacrosse team. I'm also a part owner of Boston College, thanks to my two sons, who will soon both be going there. So apparently, they are now a part owner of the Reporter. Probably is more like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Boston College has my attention this weekend.
So we're done with the Celtics for this year?
We're done with the Celtics in terms of like that. Yeah. And until further notice, there's other fish to fry.
I got to tell you, I've been, I don't know if the word is impressed or just struck by how quickly Bostonians will move on from a team as soon as they stink. Like Buffalo, we will hang on for literally decades with no playoffs, and you guys are like, eh.
Yeah, it's funny that you're saying all those things out loud and on like a recorded podcast, because I think it does say something about Buffalo, for one thing. We do have like a wealth of opportunity and options here in Boston, which is
true.
One of the reasons it's now your home, I think. And but yeah, for starters, the Red Sox will now start to creep more into my conversations.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I went to the game this weekend. As you know, my family was here.
Yeah, how you doing with that?
Recovering.
Yeah.
I'm in full-on recovery mode. Yeah.
I can tell.
It was great, but it's a lot.
It was great. Yeah. Well, you survived it, and I'm sure they're watching now, so she had a great time. We were just talking
Excellent
about you.
time. Yep.
Yeah, she had a blast.
Astute listeners may notice, viewers may notice that the pod was a little delayed on getting up in video format this week, so my apologies to all of our fans. We will not have that happen again, but it was for a good reason.
There are trying times, and we're also busy. You're very busy helping not only launch a podcast, but helping to organize things like Dorchfest. I know
like 10 days.
You were one of the creators of Dorchfest, and it must be very cool seeing it take off this year even more. Like, there's all these new volunteers. Greater Ashmont Main Streets is kind of the key agency now running it. But I was just driving, by on the expressway and seeing this huge billboard for Dorchfest on the Carpenters Union, and like, man, it's all over the neighborhood.
We've infiltrated. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I think
banners and signs.
Be prepared, Ashmont Adams. I think, on a good weather day, there's going to be quite a turnout this year.
Speaking of good weather days, man, what's going on this week? Did we have our spring?
I'm still wearing my raincoat because it's going to monsoon soon, from what I've heard. So, we're getting it all out of our system, like we said last week. So Dorchester Day weekend, Dorchfest weekend is just going to be immaculate.
I mean, it's a little early to say definitively, but last time I checked AccuWeather, 74 and sunny on Saturday the 31st.
All right,
so
let's go.
Let's keep that going.
Yes.
While you're here, though, we've got to talk about some news. And you guys, the Dorchester Reporter, is breaking some pretty major news about Section 8 housing this week.
Yeah, this is unfortunately... this is a bad news story if this comes to pass over the coming months here, not just for Boston, by the way. This is a national story.
This is part of Trump's big, beautiful bill
cuts?
Okay.
This is the federal budget as proposed, would have a 40% across-the-board cut to all kinds of housing programs, public housing and voucher programs like Section 8. So if people aren't familiar with Section 8, it's the city's rental housing assistance program, which gives people who are eligible, low income, oftentimes formerly homeless families, a voucher that allows them to rent an apartment in the city or nearby.
Right.
And currently in Boston, there are 18,000 voucher holders and a wait list of people behind them.
Just in the city of Boston?
Just in Boston, just for the Section 8 program.
Oh, my gosh.
The state has its own program, which is also... It's statewide, obviously, and is also incredibly important and will likely be impacted by federal cuts as well.
Yeah.
But our story this week is really about the BHA program.
Okay.
Boston Housing Authority supervises these vouchers. There's 18,000 families and properties that currently have them. Mm-hmm. And they put out a letter to property owners last week, warning them really that, hey, be prepared for cuts that are likely to come. Even if it's not 40%, which is the current proposal, even if it's 20%, even if it's 10%, there's going to be major impacts to thousands of people in the city of Boston, both tenants and property owners who would have to then account for how are they going to adjust.
And this is 8,000 families-ish in the Dorchester Mattapan region and up to 11,000 kids. Is that what it was? That's insane.
11,000 children who are part of, family households that are currently Section 8 holders in the city. Now, to take a step back, every year there's some kind of funding crisis around Section 8, mainly because of inflation, and the level funding each year is having trouble keeping up with the cost of increased housing in the city of Boston in particular, and places like Cambridge and Somerville that also have a lot of Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
So that's not unusual. And I spoke to Kenzie Bach, who's the commissioner of the BHA, about this week. And yeah, every year HUD, which is the federal agency that funds this housing, this source of funding, frequently will step in October, November of any calendar year and give extra gap funding to close that gap and to help, not interrupt any checks going to landlords. So to keep tenants safe. Mm-hmm. So that's also on the table this year, that they're likely going to run out of funding for this year's Section 8 program. And because of this new administration, which is clearly hostile to affordable housing programs, hostile to a lot of things that people in Boston and greater Boston, Massachusetts have come to some extent take for granted that these programs would be at least level funded. There's no assurances at all that even the level funding for this year is going to be okay. But the real problem kicks in at the beginning of the next fiscal year for the federal budget, which is October. And that's when, if the current Trump proposal gets through Congress with 40% cut, that's when you would see, according to Kenzie Bach, as many as 8,000 families in Boston as a whole lose their vouchers.
What are we talking about in terms of dollars? Do you know?
I don't know the exact dollar figure for the whole system. It's in the tens of millions of dollars annually, just for the Section 8 program. But we have 5,000 voucher holders just in Dorchester, in our 4 zip codes, plus Mattapan. So Dorchester, Mattapan, roughly 5,000 households that are dependent on this program. And by the way, the property owners are dependent on it too, right? So this is a symbiotic process. It's worked because it is. And it's largely, traditionally had bipartisan support. This is one of those things where, frankly, wealthy property owners benefit from this program too. They get steady sources of income. They bake those numbers into their financing to get mortgages and leverage those homes for other projects. This has the potential to be a real tsunami of crises for a lot of different people, not just folks who are people might be out there thinking, oh, I don't have Section 8, I'm all set. Well, think of the people in your network who own a 3-decker or a 6-family home in the neighborhood and rent to Section 8 folks.
And those are, according to your reporting, those are the majority of the Section 8 landlords. They're not these huge, they're the huge landlords that we think of are the ones renting the expensive luxury housing. They're not the people renting Section 8.
That's right. So there are 6,000 property owners who got this letter from the BHA last week, roughly, across the city saying, hey, heads up, you're either going to have to, not raise your rent in the coming year or maybe even reduce it. And by the way, there's even the threat that, you won't have those vouchers anymore. That's how draconian these cuts could be. So the property owners are key here, right? So some of those larger property owners are, fairly well-connected people. Yeah. They're wealthy and they tend to be donors to political parties on both sides of the spectrum. So I think part of the hope here politically is that those forces will kick in.
Make a stink.
Yeah, call up your congressman, your senator, who may be on the other side of this aisle, right? And traditionally, that's what's happened because it's a bipartisan issue. Usually, consensus is these programs work to prevent homelessness, but also to keep the housing market stable. This disruption would be massive for the city of Boston, which is we're already in crisis on the housing front in terms of affordability and displacement of people. We've seen it firsthand in Dorchester for sure for the last decade. Imagine adding this, fuel to the fire. It's a big deal. We've seen a lot, even just since yesterday afternoon when we posted our story online. We've seen, thousands of people sharing it on Facebook because so many people are part of this Section 8 system, either directly or indirectly.
Well, and as a community, even if you don't become affected directly by a lack of housing, think about the increased burden on all of the systems. So that includes lack of food accessibility, lack of school attendance. All of these things are going to be impacted by housing instability.
Yeah,
it's going to have a massive after effect on this community.
I think so. It really is one of these. Last week's Reporter, we had a headline that really dealt with, the Trump agenda hits close to home. And there were 3 different stories. This wasn't even one of them yet, right? We were talking about the cuts to SNAP that have definitely impacted things like the Daily Table, the ICE enforcement that's clearly stepping up, and the fear at large about nonprofit funding being slashed, the ripple effects of in the employment and job sector here. This particular one, though, is really scary because you're talking about, as Kenzie Bach said, sending thousands and thousands of families who were already on the bubble or homeless back into homelessness.
Right.
That's
who benefits?
Nuts.
Were you able to uncover who will benefit from this in your reporting? Because I feel like nobody, or
there must be some argument out there. I haven't heard anybody locally making the case, and I have to say, the housing advocates I did speak to for this story, they're hearing not only from the cities but from rural communities in Western Massachusetts. Section 8 is probably associated mostly with dense urban centers like ours. Yeah. But this is a national program.
Absolutely.
There are housing administrators all over the country sending these kind of letters out.
Yeah.
And it's deliberate. They want to activate that lobby of Republicans as well as Democrats and unenrolled people too, wealthy and poor, to say, wait a minute, this is nuts. So to answer your question directly, I haven't found a single person who says, oh yeah, this could be good. It's not going to be good.
No, it's infuriating, actually. It's really, really tough to deal with.
This is the kind of story we put on the front page for a reason. It's really important that people know about this now, not 6 months from now. And Kenzie Bach, the Wu administration, to their credit, is, I think, trying to be proactive here. And it's also, HUD, which is obviously a federal agency. It's now under the control of the Trump administration. They mandate that they put this letter out because they want to tell landlords now, don't come and complain about this in 6 months when this happens. Do something about it now.
Well, thank you for shining light on this, making it as clear as you can that this is happening. It needs attention. It needs a lot of attention.
That's part of what we do. And then the other part of what we do is trying to bring balance and good news. And we have plenty of happy, good stories every week. But this is definitely in the other category. So people should go to .news.com, read about it some more. And I'm sure you'll be seeing other news outlets jump on this as well.
And call your elected official, even if they're on the right side of this. The more calls, the more attention that you give them about this, the more they're inclined to do something. And I know a lot of our representatives are already fighting the good fight. But
multi-fronts.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about some good news.
Okay.
You got the 2025 Legacy Business Awards that were announced, I think, this morning. We're filming on Wednesday.
Correct. Today was the day that the news dropped from the mayor's office, and the mayor's office of small business is the one that really coordinates this program. It's in its 3rd year now. It's a great concept, and I'll put up front, and I do have a bit of bias on this, to be honest, because the Reporter was a recipient of this award last year.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
It's nice to be part of a class of businesses. We were at this event last year. And what's cool about it is, we're in Dorchester. Obviously, there were a couple of other Dorchester businesses honored as well. But you meet these small entrepreneurs and small businesses from across the city, and so many of them are kind of iconic in their own hoods. Like this year, one of the winners is Pizzeria Regina in the North End.
Oh yeah.
J.J. Foley's in the South End.
They've
Dry
got
dock.
one on King Street too, I think, right? Down in the
Yeah,
financial district.
there is
yeah.
a one, the same name. I'm not sure if they're the same owners, but
I'm not
J.J.
either.
Foley's is the one in the south end, like near like Herald
Berkeley
Street. Yeah,
Street,
Berkeley
yeah.
Street,
Yep.
exactly.
I used to work in an office right above there, so I got familiar with J.J. Foley's, actually.
Great place to get
Visit.
familiar. I've been in there too. Other places like the Corab Pub in West Roxbury.
Okay.
There was a place, Dry Dock Cafe in Southie, which is like on the sneak tip, one of the best restaurants in the city.
Is it on Dry Dock Ave? Like in that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's
so out of
right
the
on the
way.
pier. It's
Okay.
right, like, you can't get any closer to the fishing,
Okay.
like right off the ship kind of
But
food.
you recommend?
Highly recommended.
Okay.
In fact, Dry Dock Cafe was recommended to me for the first time like 20 years ago by a guy who went there 3 times a week religiously. And I had run into him at a wedding, and I was really interested in this question. I said, Mr. Mayor, what's your favorite restaurant in Boston?
Yeah.
And Tom Menino said Dry Dock Cafe.
Oh, really?
you to this day, you go into Dry Dock and you're going to run into well-known like political figures, Bostonians, and it's a no-frills place, but it's one of the great seafood meals in the city.
All right. We'll check
it out.
Yeah.
But they're on this list.
Okay.
And here in Dorchester this year, we have Green Hills Bakery
Oh,
in Adams
yeah.
Village, which iconic Irish bakery.
Yeah.
We have Ballet, which is probably definitely the greatest banh mi sandwich in the region.
Pretty sure we're on episode 6 and you've already touted them twice.
Well, get ready; they're going to be mentioned a few times. I tried to go by there today and they were closed.
Oh, no.
But it's a great spot. On Dorchester Avenue by Savin Hill.
Okay.
And who else? Oh,
Ice
Ice
Cream
Cream
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah.
Ice Cream Smith, which has been around since I think 1974.
And that's in your neighborhood. So
And
you
it's
must
in
be a
Lower
regular.
Mills.
Yeah.
I'm a frequent flyer at Ice Cream Smith along with most of my household. So 3 iconic Dorchester businesses this
Awesome.
year. And they're going to be honored at an event on June 3rd, which the Dorchester Reporter, we're proud to say we're the media sponsor of the event.
Okay.
And we're going to be there with, there's 30 winners each year, so 30 new winners that were announced today. And part of the program, which is cool, Erin, is in addition to a grant that the city of Boston gives each of these businesses as part of the award, you're also getting or entitled to get technical assistance, marketing support, consultants that the city helps connect you to do little things like, I don't know, help start a podcast or to, upgrade your computer equipment or improve your website.
How did you know all of those things are in my head right now?
This is definitely something that a lot of small businesses and startups need help with.
Yeah.
And even if they've been around for 43 years like us, or close to 50 years like the Ice Cream Smith, there's always little things that we need to
Yeah. And things change. So you need to, even if you have those things, you need to upgrade them or be at the cutting edge.
Exactly. So Mayor Wu and her administration, came up with this idea 3 years ago. This is, like, as I said, now the 3rd year. In addition to us, I've seen DJ's Polish Market, one of my favorite spots.
Yeah.
I was there today on Boston Street. Was 2 years ago, I think. Allen's Formal Wear on Blue Hill Avenue. There's also 2 Blue Hill Avenue winners this year. 3 actually. Merengue, which is right on the Dorchester Roxbury line.
Okay.
My wife and I fight about this all the time. Yeah, Ollie's Roti on Blue Hill Avenue.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It is. Ollie's Roti is it's a great spot for folks who are vegetarian.
Okay.
And they have amazing Mediterranean cuisine. And you can also the other one on Blue Hill Avenue is Boulevard Cleaners, which is a laundromat, laundry, dry cleaners. So, and there's tons of businesses like that. It's not just restaurants. It's the Bay State Banner. Our friends in publishing are one of the winners this year.
Talked to them this week, actually.
Yeah,
So,
the Banner is our friend and ally in many respects in doing the same kind of publishing work here in the city. So thrilled to see them win it as well.
Yeah.
Last year, El Mundo won, which is another publication. There's a Davis Funeral Home in Roxbury won this year. So it's
all types of businesses.
All types of businesses, but really they all have in common is longevity.
Yeah.
And kind of being institutions in their own way within their hood and across the city. Some of these places are really citywide in their draw.
And will you guys have the full list on your site?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's up now,
It is,
.news.com. You can go check that out. There's also a link to the program. One thing that's important to note, and the mayor's office stressed to us this week, is that this program is going to continue. Some funding in the city has been really impacted or
Yeah.
ran out, like the ARPA money that was used
Yeah.
to fund certain things. But I was told this week they're going to keep this program going, and they had 1,400 nominations this year
Wow.
for 30 slots. That's a lot.
That's
There's a lot
great.
of interest in this program, but you can learn more about it, and you can see who's won now and in the past years at boston.gov or .news.com.
And American Provisions, it looks like the South Boston location.
Yes, the OG
Yeah.
AP one, and that's there's a location obviously in the Treadmark building in
Yep.
Ashmont, but the original one's on, I think, East Broadway.
Yeah,
in
yep.
Southeast. So a lot of fans. The other South Boston one is Dry Dock, and then every neighborhood is covered pretty much
Yeah.
in this year's list.
It's a good list, and if you're looking for a new place to check out, definitely go over to your website and take a look.
June 3rd, I'll put it out there now, is Linda Dorchester Forry is going to MC the event.
Oh, is she? Cool.
And then we are getting out of there because it's our anniversary. It's our wedding anniversary on
Oh.
June 3rd. So that was part of the deal, in making plans for that evening event. It's going to be at the Calderwood Pavilion in the South End,
Okay.
which is a great venue. And then Linda and I are going to dinner.
Do you know where you're going?
TBD.
Okay.
TBD.
Keep us posted.
It may be one of these people on
I
the
think
list.
it should.
Yeah,
It's
why
very
not?
poetic, yeah.
Exactly.
And congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
So while you and Linda are out driving around Boston for your anniversary looking for a place to eat, you might want to avoid Circuit Drive in Franklin Park, or at least if you do go down there, go very slowly.
Yeah. Well, so I think you've read the Reporter this week and Seth Daniels' story about Franklin Park and the discussion around maybe someday shutting and like closing Circuit Drive off, exactly. That's the reaction of a lot of folks,
Yeah.
especially on the Dorchester Mattapan side, who are like, wait a minute.
Wait, are you saying shutting down roads is an unpopular idea?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah. Because like some people want to get to Forest Hills or
It is like the only way to get through there without going all the way around the park.
Yeah, there's actually, and it's an ambulance route, the
Yeah.
hospital's over there, especially when you start closing Kearney Hospital. And we need to go to somewhere, so you're trying to shut down like
Shattuck?
yeah.
Is
So
that
I mean
how you say it? Shattuck?
Shattuck is over there,
Okay.
Faulkner's over that side
Yeah.
of town, like, and but also like people want to get to Forest Hills or whatever.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons why people, and what State Rep Russell Holmes said in this meeting last week, which there's an article about it in the Reporter. It's in the context of a meeting about how city planners are moving towards making improvements to Circuit Drive, not
Okay.
closing it down.
Okay.
But there are folks who are like, let's just shut this thing down.
Yeah.
It's right in Franklin Park. It goes basically through a golf course and a zoo.
Yeah.
And now a stadium.
Right.
So maybe we shouldn't have traffic flying through there.
Yeah.
But
The speed limit's like 10 or something, or 15. Like, it's really slow, but nobody...
the speeds in there are obviously like 20 miles per hour higher.
Yeah.
But Russell Holmes shut this thing down, the state rep. He's like, it's not happening on
He
my
shut
watch.
down the shutting down.
Yeah,
Okay.
he shut down the shutting down, exactly. So I don't think anybody is going to, in the near future, see that road shut down.
Okay.
But city planners like, we'll take this up at a different date in the future.
Okay.
It's politically charged, and I don't think it's going to happen. But me and Linda will find a place to go that night, with or without Circuit Drive.
Who would have
trust me.
thought Franklin Park was going to be such a hotbed? Like, everything in Franklin Park. We got the Shattuck Hospital, which is always a point
Yeah.
of controversy. The White Stadium, which I saw in your paper, which we won't get into too much, but there's another lawsuit potentially. And now we've got Circuit Drive. The whole
Yeah.
thing is, and there's coyotes and dirt bikes.
There's a lot going on. But, Franklin Park for years was kind of ignored, I feel like,
I
in
agree.
the political discussion
Yeah.
citywide. So this is kind of a good problem,
Yeah.
in my view. People care about it, and there's a huge constituency for the park. So there should be a debate about the future.
I completely agree. I think Franklin, when I lived in JP, and now it touches on the Dorchester side, it was the one place I didn't really go that much. Like, I'd go to the Arbs and the pond, and even Forest Hill Cemetery, but
Yeah.
Franklin Park was always a little.
It's a huge
rough.
destination. Golfers, kids, families for the zoo, and obviously
Yeah.
soon the stadium. The stadium might get pushed a little further back. We're just hearing today the timeline for getting that stadium done might be closer to 27 than
No,
26.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some reporting on that today.
Is that because of the protests or because of just construction?
I think it's more related to construction right now,
Okay.
but lawsuits probably don't help.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing we wanted to talk about was it is Memorial Day on Monday. So
Yep.
this is Memorial Day weekend, even though it feels like it's March.
I know the weather is not feeling Memorial
No.
Day-ish, but it is more Memorial Day on Monday. And I have a piece in the Reporter this week recalling that not too long ago we had one of the oldest and kind of most revered Memorial Day observances in the whole region, and definitely in the city of Boston at Cedar Grove Cemetery. And it's stopped in COVID, and it's too bad because
Yeah.
it really it has been a tradition in this part of the city for since 1867.
And this is also the parade.
Yeah, there used to be a parade as well that would of veterans who would
Yeah.
march to the cemetery. There'd always be a speaker. JFK was a speaker one year.
wow.
Governors, top brass of the military. It was a big deal, and annually they would often be a ship that would come in, a U.S. Navy ship, and
Yeah.
the sailors would march, and huge contingent. It's all kind of dwindled over the years, and now it's not happening at all. And kind of raising that again as an issue that I think it's a tradition that should be revived.
Bill.
One of the reasons, and Dot Life is a great opportunity to convene it.
I have to ask you this.
Yeah,
Is this about your birthday?
my birthday is coming up.
You're really mad that they don't have a parade on your birthday anymore.
Well, Dot Day is close enough, so I do have a parade in the future. But
Okay.
yeah, I missed the Memorial Day parade. It did go right by my house as a kid, and I do miss that. But I also think it's a shame to lose that connection. The Memorial Day observances started in the Civil War. Right after the Civil War, Dorchester lost 90 plus soldiers, men in that war, including Benjamin Stone, who there's a memorial to in the cemetery. And that tradition of kind of remembering that, it's especially poignant in our times now.
Yeah. I will say when I was, freshly out of college and living in Rochester, New York for the first couple of years, I went to the Memorial Day parade there, and it was one of the I will always remember, it was just very somber and very moving, and the pride that the veterans had in marching in that parade was evident, and I think we should have something
There's
like
also
that
a
here.
World War II memorial in the cemetery, and so that generation, not too long ago, and this was still with us in some respects. So, I've talked to a couple of veterans in the neighborhood and people who are involved at the cemetery about this. There's definitely, the beginnings of a discussion around reviving it. So we should have that conversation here on Dot Life again before next Memorial Day. Make it happen.
I will commit to that.
Cool.
By the way, Cedar Grove Cemetery is such a great jewel. I love walking through there, and it's one of the few cemeteries in the city that still allows dogs on leash, and my dog loves going there, although he does bark at the trolley.
Yeah. And it's also what other cemetery has a trolley going through it?
I know.
It's a beautiful place.
It is.
And a lot of us, for a lot of reasons, have an attachment to it. We'll be there on Monday to remember. And I
Rain or
encourage
shine?
neighbors, rain or shine. We encourage neighbors to join us.
Awesome. What's coming up next week?
Oh, Dorchester Day preview, Dorchfest preview, the record company, this place that we'll talk about probably in a future episode a couple of times or three. And the importance of the record company and the artists who are generated out of the two facilities nearby.
Yeah.
So we'll be spotlighting the record company. And we have tons of features. It's like a yearbook, the Dorchester Day edition. It's going to be huge.
Newspaper's looking like a phone book this week.
This next week, it's going to be like 4 times the size of the usual edition. So I'm excited about it. And stay tuned. We have interviews and a lot of updates on what's going on politically in the city as well.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for coming, Bill.
Thanks, Erin.